Good morning, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm super excited because I have kind of claimed the kitchen as my own now. I'm calling it my little bakery because today I'm going to attempt to make a proper British afternoon tea. If you don't know me, let me give you a fun fact about myself. I have been such a fan of the British culture for so long now. I have no idea where it comes from, but it's been like this for years and years and years. I used to rave about going to London even before I went there. I also have just this vivid memory of a trip to Scotland when I was only 7, I think. So I just remember so much of it that it's kind of weird. I just loved it. And also I have memories of my family doing these Sunday brunches, really British style. So we had eggs, bacon, beans on toast, the whole shebang, sausages sometimes as well. It was amazing. Let me tell you what the afternoon tea menu is for today because I'm doing it properly. So an afternoon tea usually exists out of 3 courses. So you have finger sandwiches in an arrangement of sorts, then you usually have scones, and then on top of that you have kind of like dessert, so little chocolate treats and cakes and all that. I'm making all of that. So what I'm planning to do is making 2 different kind of finger sandwiches. I'm making 2 different kinds of scones, if everything goes right, and then I'm also making 2 different kinds of cakes and treats. So yeah, I would say let's get started because otherwise I'll never be ready. Seeing as this episode is all about afternoon tea, it seemed only fitting that I tell you the story about where afternoon tea actually came from. Afternoon tea was first introduced in, you guessed it, England. This happened in the 19th century, and don't get me wrong, the Brits were definitely already drinking tea before that. But the actual custom of having afternoon tea was invented in the 19th century by a duchess called Anna. And she believed that there was way too much time between having lunch at noon and then having dinner, which she organized fashionably late at 8. And I totally agree on that. So at around 4 o'clock, when she was feeling peckish, she asked her servants to bring her a platter of bread, butter, and a little bit of cake, and obviously accompanied by a little cup of tea. Now Anna was really enjoying this, and it became a habit. And all of a sudden she started inviting friends over to have a little chat over a nice cup of tea and some lovely little treats. And there you have it, afternoon tea was born. There is so much baking. I am so warm from being by the oven, but I am actually loving it. Spending my day like this is just anytime. So the madeleines are in the oven. I hope they turn out right because I've never made those before. And now it's up to the next batch of scones to be shaped. So let's go ahead and do that. oven isn't actually making too much noise, but it's working, so you know. Now I'm gonna make the easiest treat of them all, which is macaroons. Not to be mistaken with macarons, because macarons are, God knows, way too hard to make. But I'm gonna make macaroons, which are basically little coconut treats. I believe in Dutch we call them kokosnoottrotjes or something like that. I used a recipe that I found on Cupcake Gemma's channel. I think it's a staple for bakers. I mean, I'm always there. And it's super easy. It's so weird that I have never made these before because it takes no work at all. Let me introduce you to my afternoon tea platter. I've got a whole bunch of stuff. And I know I mentioned this quite briefly what I was gonna make, but let's go over the menu, shall we? So, at the bottom we have, for starters, a selection of nice sandwiches. So I've made my own egg salad. I've paired it with some crispy bacon. And then I've also made a sandwich of cucumber and salmon and then some mayonnaise with herbs. Then next up we have giant scones. These are the plain ones, amazing with some clotted cream or jam or both. Yeah, these turned out huge. This is a recipe from Cupcake Gemma and they're not too sweet, so you can actually pair them with something savory as well if you like. And then we have my personal favorite, the top layer, which is essentially all the sweet goodies. We've got some scones with raisins in them. They turn out so good as well, really rustic looking. This is a recipe from Jamie Oliver, the classics. We've got some madeleines, which are lemon poppy seed. We have the little macaroon treats.
There are a lot of different parts that have to be made at an afternoon tea, and that can be a bit tricky time-wise. So let me give you a few tips to make this all a lot more practical. First tip is to do research on the recipes that you want to use. I googled a lot beforehand to see which recipes will fit in together. Definitely don't use recipes that you have to wait hours and hours for before you can bake. For the scones, for example, I had a dough that had to wait 45 minutes before I could bake it, and that is perfect timing to then make another dough in the meanwhile. The second tip is to make a shopping list, and this is going to sound really obvious, but it's going to be really important because there are so many different parts in an afternoon tea and you're going to need a lot of ingredients. So don't go to the shops randomly picking some eggs, some butter and some flour, and write down the specific quantities that you will need. It will be a lifesaver, trust me. So if you are making a lot of different baked goods for your afternoon tea, this tip will also be essential. I would suggest to carefully look at the temperatures your oven needs to be on for each and every recipe. And then from there, always start with the recipe that needs to be baked on the lowest temperature. This is really simply because once the heat is already in your oven, it is really hard to make it cool down again. And with that said,
I have so many leftovers. Let me actually show you the array of leftovers that I have. Yeah, I know, right? But it's amazing because now I can maybe pack these and give little afternoon tea packets to friends and family. So it turns out well and they're amazing, so why not? Anyway, let's move these aside. Right, so I would really highly recommend trying to make an afternoon tea yourself. It is such an enjoyable process if you're into baking and cooking. You can kind of pick a selection of your favorite recipes yourself. If you want to try any of these, I'll link all of them down below. They turned out great, so they're really reliable. But yeah, and then afterwards you can just enjoy it with your family with a cup of tea. Right, there's only one thing left for me to do, and that is have some of these, which have been there in the back of my eyesight all day. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Maybe share it with the friends that you'd like to make an afternoon tea with, and obviously subscribe if you would like to stay tuned for more content like this. And then I am so happy that I'm finally getting to eat this. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.